This child is special. This child must be taken beyond the boundaries of our village, all the way across the great river to the Daikini crossroads. But who'd do that?
It seems only fair that the man to take this baby to the crossroads be the very man who plucked it out of the river. I nominate Willow Upgood.
I will consult the bones.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.
Hello, and thank you for listening to Cheapseat Reviews, the podcast that explores the Hollywood film industry for the greater good.
The greater good, Peck.
Oh, my gosh. I don't know. Should we disclaimer this episode?
I think the drinking game is take a shot every time one of us says Peck.
Okay.
I know. At some point in the movie, I was thinking, because I had totally forgotten about this movie, right? I watched it in the 80s, and I think that's the last time I've seen it. And I totally forgot about the word Peck. And imagine if they used, a different slanderish term for small people or people of small stature.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what they were calling them, right?
Yeah, it's a racist
it's a
word.
slander.
Yeah,
and it just I don't know if they could do that anymore.
Yeah, I
don't think it would work.
I do wonder if it is, would Peter Dinklage be mad at me if I used it, not like at him as a derogatory, just in conversation. Like, I'm saying, like, you can't use the N-word
right?
at all, right?
No.
So it's is it the same thing? I don't know. If I don't know.
I'm just picturing you walking down the street and seeing Peter Dinklage and going like, out of the way!
Out of the way, Peck.
Oh my God.
Why would you do that to Peter Dinklage?
Yeah, and then he comes across the table and punches me in the face and says, call me an elf.
Call me
one
an
more
elf. One more time.
I think in the play that I'm writing, I'm actually going to use ginger and old guy a lot. Just for you and Sam.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Okay, sure.
Oh my gosh. We're already off the rails.
Absolutely.
This is episode 342. And we are not talking about that last movie. I forgot to edit my script. We're talking about Willow, episode 342, Willow, 1980s something, Willow. You would think I'd have this information after 1988. I have done this podcast before, I promise. I am Sean Allred, and joining me tonight is Andrew. How do you keep people alive in a castle surrounded by desolate land? Jimison.
Well, I usually use my grandmother, who is a sorceress, and she has a hell of a right hook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that how you grow?
Is it?
That's how you grow food and animals?
Do you want any other explanation? Okay, I told you she's a sorceress.
Okay. She just conjures up the corn and the feed and the stuff. These are the dumb things I think about. Sam, the two-headed dragon.
Wait. Will you put a comma in between those two statements? The dumb things I think about. Oh, and Sam.
And Sam, yeah. Yeah, I think that's actually kind of appropriate. And Sam, the two-headed dragon still freaks me out. Vector.
Well, doggone it. You used what I was going to kill you with. So I've got to now figure out something different. So I would basically say I'd probably lock you in one of those cages that, not Christian Bale. What's his name?
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer was locked in, and then keep you from getting water. So that would be my how you would die slowly, and I would put like a one of those timer cameras on you so that I could watch your body waste away, and kind of see in a time lapse as you melt into the bars. So I think that'd be fun.
I think I would probably die of sunburn before I would die of thirst.
That's right, you would.
I think.
You'd spontaneously combust.
Yeah, I
is
think
what would
that's
happen.
actually probably pretty accurate. That place looked pretty pretty hot and sandy and made me thirsty just looking at it. And making his Cheap Seat Reviews debut is Cameron. All you did was sit around and eat our eggs from the Green Shirt Podcast.
They're good eggs. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here to eat your eggs.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Welcome on the podcast, Cameron. Thanks for joining us.
I am so excited, guys.
So I poached, to keep the egg metaphor, poached Cameron away from another podcast that I was on, and last week Jesse was on our show. I first heard Cameron on the Sudden But Inevitable podcast, where he guest hosted there and talked about Firefly, and I thought, man, that chap is funny. I should have him on my show. So
the question is he enjoying Firefly though? That isn't that kind of the main gist of why we would allow people on our cast?
I do enjoy Firefly. If that's
okay, then he's good.
question.
Then he's good.
Okay.
You've answered the secret password, so you're fine.
And your show, which I'll let you go into some more length about in a second, is the Green Shirt Podcast, a newbie's trek through, or newbie's experience through Star Trek: The Next Generation. I think I screwed up your
Newbie's
tagline.
trek through the next generation. That's right.
Yeah, thank you. So I've listened to.
You've gone with your first instinct, just like Willow.
I was gonna say, the trek. I was thinking that what a perfect way to use a word on there. So.
Yeah, it was funny because
anyway.
it sounded right coming out, and I thought, no, it seems too perfect. No one would actually be that clever.
You doubted yourself. The magic was in your finger the whole time.
Yeah.
Sean.
Dang it, Sean.
I'm also the guy that probably would have dropped an acorn on my own foot. So.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my podcast. That's my full-time podcast.
Yeah. And I've listened to it, and well, not all of it, because you have like 80-something episodes, but I've listened to a handful, and they're very funny. And I'll
Have
just.
you watched all of with TNG?
Who are you asking?
You.
No, I haven't. I'm kind
Oh
of.
my gosh.
I'm kind of like Cameron in that I grew up on the movies. I grew up watching the films. The first time, I've said this story on the show before. The first movie I have a memory of going to the theater with Dad, just me and Dad, was Star Trek Generations. And I know it's not a good movie, but because of that memory, it's a better movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we were watching it for the podcast, which we might do one day. It's kind of terrible, Sam. You would enjoy making fun of it. Like I would rank it like a 5, but because of the memory, it goes like to an 8.
Yeah.
So it's funny. When Cameron and I were negotiating back and forth for this show, he said, "What episode would you like to come on and do for us?" So I'm scrolling through. I think season 5 is where we are in real life, and I don't remember any of these. I watched these growing up with my parents on our little 13-inch black and white, and I don't remember any of them except the one that I picked, which is the one that has Kelsey Grammer on it.
Spoilers.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Spoilers.
Remember, I haven't seen it yet. That's the premise of the show.
Oh, well, there's an episode with Kelsey
Dang
Grammer.
it, Sean. You just
I
ruined the
knew
surprise.
Kelsey Grammer showed up at some point.
Yeah, there's like lots of famous pictures of him in the uniform.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, and we'll let you talk about that.
When was that, though? Was that the 80s? Was that Cheers era, Kelsey Grammer?
Yeah, I mean...
Early 90s would have been that episode.
Yeah.
That episode would have been...
93.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, he wasn't in Willow.
He was not.
I couldn't find a Star Trek connection. I know that's
Really?
your game, Sean, but...
Uh-oh.
Really? There's kind of a big one.
Okay.
sure?
Well, I'm looking forward to it then.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, there's a big one that we'll talk about. 1988's Willow, directed by Ron Howard, written by George Lucas and Bob Dolman. And this is one of those movies that I think all of us except Andrew watched when we were youngins. Andrew, this was your first time, right?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It was.
wow.
Excited.
Interesting.
Yeah, very excited.
Because I came into this with nostalgia, right? This is direct from my 80s childhood, and especially the formative years of my 80s childhood. So it'll be interesting to see what Andrew has to say about.
And by childhood, he means his early 20s.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got an array of perspectives here. This should be interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Andrew, why don't you go ahead and please tell us what does Disney Plus have to say about this? Because usually IMDb fails us.
Well, IMDb fails us, and to be honest, Disney Plus failed us this time as well. So,
I wrote my own synopsis.
I'm. Well, yeah.
Oh, we can hear the official.
Yeah,
let's prefer it.
Yeah, let's do the official, and then we'll do yours, Cameron, because I'd like to have a comparison.
Mine is to make a point, so we'll. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's see here. Willow, a small farmer, apprentice, and magician, meets Mad Mardigan, a great swordsman, and together they journey through a war-torn land of magic and monsters to save a baby princess from death at the hands of an evil queen.
I mean, that's all right.
The 80s, when a family film could entirely revolve around attempted infanticide.
Yeah.
And putting the baby in danger in every single scene.
Constant danger.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love the 80s.
Even when it was a safe situation, you still feared for the baby's life, for being dropped, or things dropped on it, or
That was not an official baby Bjorn that Willow was wearing.
No, and this was before like prop babies too.
Well, so this movie has a lot of trivia, and one of the things I did read was like they used lots of different prop babies. They had an animatronic baby that would actually move while Willow was walking. They had a rubber one that, so like remember like towards the middle when Kale, the general with the skull face, whatever, Skeletor, he's riding off. Like that baby's neck would have snapped the way he was holding it and riding. Like that
Are you saying General Kale doesn't know how to hold a baby?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Was this were these the prop babies you could buy?
Asking for a friend.
Do you remember these? It was like they had a theme song and everything. Prop babies. If you drop your baby, dry a pop baby. And it was for people that constantly drop their babies. And
Is this real? What is happening? This feels like a Saturday Night Live commercial right now.
This segment of Cheapseat Reviews brought to you by Prop Babies.
If you drop your baby, try Prop Baby.
Sean's looking this up.
No, I'm not.
It doesn't exist.
No, I'm not.
Totally making that up. That's not a real thing.
I know. I'm not. No, it's just. But it just sounds like one of those sketches that would exist like in the 80s on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Well,
oh my God.
In a prior life, I was a writer on SNL.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Cameron. Now, I want to hear yours, but at some point tonight, I'm calling you out because the couple episodes I've listened to you of yours of Green Shirt, you have gifted the world with your Patrick Stewart accent. So, so at some point, you're gonna have to do your Patrick Stewart accent.
Okay, everyone I quote in this movie will be played by Patrick Stewart. By Cameron playing Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, but you want my synopsis? Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
A young farmer finds himself in possession of the one thing that can destroy an evil magical tyrant intent on taking over all the lands. After initially resisting, he's forced to embark on a quest to protect this MacGuffin and deliver it to the one place it will be safe. Along the way, he'll befriend a comic relief duo, a cocky, swashbuckling rogue, a feisty princess, and a learned magic user who will teach him how to use the power within him. When it turns out that the safe place he was delivering the MacGuffin has been destroyed, the farmer must join a plucky group of resistance fighters to confront the evil empire head-on, discovering that all he had to do was trust in his own courage and power all along. What movie am I describing?
That's a much better synopsis than what's on IMDb.
Let's just say George Lucas had a type.
Well,
yes, he did.
Yeah.
George Lucas. Okay, so let's go here since we're here.
We're here.
So George Lucas wanted to direct a Lord of the Rings movie. He read The Hobbit, was a big fan of it, and tried to buy the rights to The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings in the late 70s and 80s, trying to produce his own. And
I remember that. Yeah.
And they said no. The powers, I guess the estate.
We don't want you ruining it,
Well,
George.
yeah, we don't want you adding to weird special effects and stuff.
Rankin and Bass will do a much better job at ruining it.
Yeah, remember, Legolas shoots first, okay? So he couldn't do it. So once he got turned down, and once he was basically he had credibility because of Star Wars, he decided to make his own version.
Yeah,
and
he wanted to become Luke Tolkien. He
Tolkien.
wanted to
And
create the world.
This is not the first time this has happened, especially with the movie we've done for the podcast. If you remember, Sam Raimi wanted to direct the Batman, the 1989 Batman. And when Warner Brothers turned him down and gave it to Tim Burton, Sam Raimi said, I'll just go make my own superhero, dark, vigilante guy, and we'll call him Darkman.
Darkman.
So,
yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Liam
Well,
Neeson.
I do think it's funny because like everyone always says, "Oh, Willow, it's just a ripoff of Lord of the Rings," and like, look, I get it. I've said it, and yes, the first act is beat for beat Lord of the Rings. Nelwyn Village is the Shire. I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah.
But I really feel like once the quest embarks, like all the story beats change. Like, of course, there's all the similar tropes from any fantasy film, but the story beats are really different. It is Star Wars. Every single character trope, every single story beat is Star Wars with a fantasy veneer. And, that's something I realized in my teens. It's a total ripoff of Star Wars. I mean, it's because Lucas is so dedicated to, the hero's journey mythology. But, I don't care. If you're going to rip something off, rip off something great like Star Wars and do it well. And I think it did. So
Although technically, is it ripping off if it's his own idea?
Oh, that's true.
Well, yeah, and even Star Wars.
He's just expanding. He's taking his Star Wars idea and putting it in a different world, a different
galaxy
universe,
even further away.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually a lot of fan theories that think that this is on a planet in the Star Wars universe, which is why it's so different. Why there's magic and other things. Are they magic users or are they actually just using a version of the Force? So
and there's Force change something into a two-headed dragon monster thing?
Yeah, why not? The Force
let's wait
weird.
and see what they do with the Disney Plus show.
That's right.
That is true, and
maybe they're going to connect it.
I saw when I was researching Ron Howard, he is directing some of them.
Yeah.
Oh, is
so I'm excited.
He's producing and directing. I mean, he's show running, but he'll direct an episode or two. I think Jon Favreau directed an episode or two of The Mandalorian. So
because let's put this right. Lucas wrote this thing, and this reminded me a lot of why everybody loves Empire Strikes Back so much. Where Lucas was the original writer, but somebody else took that vision and made it happen and did it well. And I don't even want to go into my 5-word reviews yet, but I think Ronnie did just an amazing job with the storytelling in this and keeping us in line with just not going over the top. This could have been campy as hell. This could have been a typical bad 80s bad special effects extravaganza, but I gotta give him props for what he did in this thing.
100% Sam.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and do 5 words because I don't want it to be the three of us, just giving this praise and Andrew saying, but I don't know. Andrew might not say that again. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Sam, let's go ahead and we'll follow the format and do our 5 words.
All right. I've got 2 of them here. The first one is world building at its best, which I think all the different characters, all the different lands, all the different types of things in here, even though they are some fantasy tropisms in there, it looked lived in, right? It looked like, that's why we love those original Star Wars, is because it looked lived in and it didn't look like they just put a brand new cloth on somebody on horseback that should have been, dirtied up or used. It just looked so good. Mm-hmm. And then my real 5-word review is actually 4 words and says an almost complete movie.
Nice.
And what I want to say about that is I think the only problem that I can really come into this movie, and remember, I think I texted you guys when I was watching it. I don't remember a single thing from this whole darn movie. It's been so long that I literally don't remember anything that happened. When you brought in the Queen, I wonder if Ron Howard, if he would have separated the Queen to make her more menacing, and given her minions to go out and then eventually announce her in the final act, or do something where, she is just a presence instead of, a character there on screen. It might have made her more imposing, but because it's kind of an 80s thing that you show all the characters and you show the big bad, and I thought that was a little bit hokey, I guess, to bring the big bad in so early, I guess you could say. I don't know if I was hoping for a sequel.
Yes,
but I can certainly.
We all were.
Oh yeah.
Well,
but
there
I
was
can certainly see
they were
where
supposed to
this
be.
could. Yeah, this could have been a pretty amazing trilogy, or even a series like I hope they're going to do, because it was so good. It was so good.
What if he had done a trilogy though, and then went back and did a prequel series, and then later someone else says we need the sequel series as well.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah. Well, again, there was supposed to be. George Lucas did, in fact, go ahead and write 3 books for this.
Oh God.
Oh, he did.
Let's
I
not
did
even-
not know that.
So there's this movie, and then there's also the books and other comic books that Marvel owns. There's a comic book series that continues
No, I didn't know that was.
Yeah, I only know it because of the trivia. It's not like I knew that, but
I was so excited for the books when they came out, and I couldn't make it past like 3 chapters of the first book. It was
it's bad.
it wasn't Willow. Like it's I'm sure it might be a fine story, but like they did everything they could. Like Willow changes his name in it for some reason. And it becomes, I've read like a synopsis of it later, and it's like very sci-fi. There's a lot of time travel involved and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of just, I don't know. I don't know what I want from the new show, and I don't want this episode to be about the new show, but it would be kind of neat to see that, Willow has replaced the Grand Negus or whatever he's
Hi,
called.
Melvin.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Aldwin.
Yeah, he's replaced that guy, and there's the next adventure with the next, what I'm saying? Like I want
Laura Dannon, I'm sure.
Yeah, Laura, and she's gonna be queen by this point, and she needs his help for something, maybe to protect her kid. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into that. Andrew, you got a 5-word?
Yeah, I actually have 2. So my first one is everything but the kitchen sink. Because literally this movie, everything that you could possibly want in a movie is there, except for maybe a car chase.
There's a cart chase.
There is a cart chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I have is, hey, the Jack Link Sasquatch.
Oh, the trolls. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if they would have just given him some beef jerky, they wouldn't have been so rude.
Seriously.
Just cranky.
I kind of don't want to say what I think about it until I hear what you guys say, but I guess I'll just dive in. I mean, it's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
That's okay.
You can tell this is a George Lucas story, and I knew it right away, other than seeing the title on the screen. But I knew it because we start off biblically. We start off with Moses and the story of Moses, which we saw biblical attachments in Star Wars as well, and some of his other stuff. So, from right there, I saw that it's. I guess what I have trouble with is it's not original. I know that it's original as far as he wrote this and everything, but It's not original. Everything that's in this movie is taken from somewhere else. And like you said earlier, if you steal from something and you make it your own, then I guess that's okay. But I don't know. It just I didn't really feel anything original in this. Maybe it's because I saw it after I've seen everything else. I've seen Lord of the Rings, I've seen Neverending Story, I've seen The Chronicles of Narnia, I've seen The Hobbit. So I've seen all these fantasy movies, and this one just doesn't seem all that original to me. Which originality is not the only thing that makes a good movie. There was some good things that I appreciated in this. I felt like um, not all of the acting was great, but a lot of it was okay. And I don't know how well it has aged, but it wasn't terrible. I don't know, and I know this is going to sound extremely. I mean, you can just say that I'm a bad person, which is not the first time. But
You're a
where
bad person. Oh, sorry.
This is a movie with an awful lot of little people, of shorter than normal people.
Yeah.
Am I just like living in some sort of alternate reality? Like am I hiding under a rock or something? I don't even know how to say this. I didn't realize that. Again, I know this sounds terrible. I didn't realize there were this many little people in the world, and they're all in this movie. And if you're a little person, I seriously, I mean no disrespect. There's a lot in this movie.
I kind of thought the same thing. I was like, there's more little people on screen right now than I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
since
I've
Wizard
seen.
of Oz.
Well, even Wizard of Oz, I'm like, half of these people are children.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, and then here's the other thing that really got me, and I hope that there's some trivia about this. I purposely did not look at the trivia because I wanted you to surprise me with it, but I hope that you're going to tell me that they scotch taped some string to this baby's face and made him do all these facial expressions because made her do all these facial expressions because I've never seen a baby like make these expressions before unless they're pooping. And this one, I don't think it's pooping unless you're just filming it the entire time.
It was a very.
These faces.
She was very expressive. This baby.
If acting is reacting, that baby deserves an Oscar. Like it is the most emotive baby.
Now,
I want to, if there are any app developers listening right now, I want to work with you to create an app called Emoji Dannon that just replaces all the emojis on my phone with faces of Laura Dannon because she covers the entire range of emotions in this movie.
She really does.
Yeah.
Now I do.
And between her and Willow's kids, it's like the cutest movie kids ever.
Yeah.
This film has,
and somewhat creepy.
It's that
Ron Howard just has that way, I guess. Maybe
well,
he's,
I do have one bubble to burst on a Laura Dannon, and that's production went so long that the original girl grew too big. So she got replaced about halfway through filming. So
with a prop baby.
I just figured that they took a 27-year-old girl and wrapped her face in a blanket and had her make these faces.
So the little like tuft of curly hair that you see, that's a wig that they put on. They put on with like
you just ruined the magic.
It's not glue because glue is bad for their skin, but it's like candy almost, like a sugar, like honey, basically. Mm-hmm. But yeah, about halfway through filming, it's a different baby, and I never noticed that. I mean, I never knew that, but
you put the same wig on them, all babies look alike.
Yeah.
Was it that she got older, or did they drop her? We need a new baby. Drop that one.
They should have practiced with the drop baby first.
I do have some really more great trivia about the baby that's just it's gonna be really great. So I'm looking forward to that. How often do I get to say that phrase?
By the way, and let me piggyback a little bit on what Andrew had to say about seeing everything before. I think the three of us who watched it in the 80s saw a film at that point that hadn't been oversaturated. Right, the fantasy movies we saw back then were incredibly tropey and incredibly campy, except for Willow. Willow was taken very seriously and brought us a world that we wanted to see. This is as close as we got to a real life Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Sam, you are a kindred spirit. Everything you said, I have notes on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what happened is Andrew, you've seen all the Lord of the Rings movies, and you've seen the way fantasy can be done now, and how it's entered the mainstream, and the type of fantasy that we all love, this serious, non-campy fantasy, is, Game of Thrones, all that sort of stuff is all mainstream. Back then, this was not what we would see. The Game of Thrones obviously wouldn't happen back then, but it just wasn't taken as seriously. And I think by seeing it after we've seen all of these amazing fantasy films, I could see it be a little disappointing, because it's made in the 80s, and little special effects here and there, and it's kind of, it just can't measure up to Lord of the Rings, that Peter Jackson did.
Yeah, I mean,
but
go ahead.
I was gonna say, in the same way, we've got the Star Wars films that used a ton of material from John Carter of Mars. And when John Carter of Mars came out, well after all these Star Wars films, we thought, oh man, all those things have been done before. This is boring. I've seen all this before. And people kind of pooped on John Carter because they thought it was unoriginal, whereas the story actually came out before all the Star Wars stories did. So I think it's kind of that same idea where it's sorry, the dog is attacking me. Where it's that same idea where it depends on what you see first.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of, it's probably the only time I'm ever going to compare Lucas with Tarantino, but they both take pre-existing things and remix them, right?
Exactly.
Lucas takes mythology and these B movies and Flash Gordon, remixes it into something new. Yeah, we've seen everything in Willow. Willow uses stuff from Labyrinth and Legend and Neverending Story, but it kind of all mixes it in and puts it in this Lord of the Rings type story. I mean, Sam, you nailed it. This was the closest we got to Lord of the Rings, other than the animated versions at this time. So yeah, I just think that, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head with the art direction and the world building. I put effortless world building, and yeah, we all praise Alien and Star Wars, ushered in the era of lived in science fiction, right? Guess what? In the future, things get old still and break, right? Surprise, surprise. Yeah. And it kind of took fantasy 5 to 10 more years to get there, to be maybe everything isn't a fairy tale. It's not all perfect and beautiful. Things get dirty. People, not everyone has a toilet in these worlds. In this movie, Sorsha is the only person who looks like she's seen the inside of a shower, and it's great. Everyone is dirty and sweaty, and I feel like I got off tangent, but I just love all that. I love all that about the movie.
Yep.
Well, Cameron, since you have the microphone, why don't you go ahead and do your 5-word review?
Yeah, I don't have anything quite as clever, but I just put, oh, Willow, you are great.
Nice.
You are, yeah. I loved this movie as a kid growing up, for sure. I love all 80s fantasy movies. I mean, there's great ones, but yeah, I mean, I feel like Willow just kind of reached the apex of all of them, built off all of them. And then as I got older, I kind of feel like Willow does have a reputation of being a guilty pleasure or a B movie at best. And so as I got older, I kind of started seeing things where oh, maybe this is what they were talking about. But I am so glad you guys invited me on to talk about it, because as I watched it this most recent time with a very critical eye, I've kind of justified all those things that I thought were issues. And now I'm no, this movie nails all that. So even as an adult, I think this thing holds up. I love Willow. Just hearing that opening theme music immediately makes me a 9-year-old kid again.
Oh, yeah. Now I missed that, but I will say that I was so pleased to hear something again from James Horner that I haven't heard before. Because I haven't seen the movie, and I love James Horner, and we lost him way too soon. But
way too soon.
But it was great, and even it was maybe not his best work, but it was still really good scoring until the very end of the movie.
Yeah, Willow and the Laura Danis themes I think are great. I think I was watching Avatar when I was like, wait a second, is General Kale about to ride in and attack these Na'vi? Because I discovered James Horner uses the exact same musical cue for every villains in his movies.
So it's that trumpet that da 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 da.
Thank you guys. Yes.
He uses that. Yeah, you're talking to three music people here. So
okay. Well, I was kind of hoping you could confirm that because
So he uses it. I can confirm. This was the first time I heard that trumpet riff. The second time I heard it and pointed out was at Enemy of the Gates.
Okay.
The Jude Law sniper. Every time we see the German sniper man, you hear that da 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 da. You hear that part.
Gee, that's so good.
Oh, thanks. And then of course they play it. He used it a lot in Avatar. Whenever the general's about to bomb the tree or whatever, like they use that. But he uses that bit a lot.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. He uses it a lot. So. Yeah, the score is great. And Andrew, I think you would have heard it because I know I inserted in our intro, static interstitial that we're going to get sued for one day. But,
yes,
I know you've heard it before, but it is good.
Since I didn't know the movie, I didn't know what I was listening to.
Sure, that's fair. And it's funny. So this time while watching it, someone commented. I don't think it was you, Cameron. It was another podcast I was talking to about Willow, and they said that they used the theme song too much, that James Horner repeats himself too much, that dun da dum bum bum ba dum, the hero theme. And so I was listening for it very specifically this time, and I only remember hearing it really distinctively 3 different times. And I thought, that's not too bad. During because the first time I really heard it was during the cart chase. The second time was the mountaintop snow fight scene, and then at the I guess there's 4 times. There's the defense of the castle, right, when he does the Home Alone of the castle, and then the 2-headed dragon, and then I guess
anytime Madmartigan's fighting, right?
Pretty much
like
anytime.
Oh yeah,
it is.
I read the same thing, and so I did the same thing. It's a very theme-heavy score for sure, but I love those. I mean, Lord of the Rings is very theme-heavy too. Like everyone has their theme, and they get used whenever those characters are doing things. That object is on screen. So some other times you hear it. I love how they use Madmartigan's theme. The first time you hear it is when he's in the cage and he's giving his like emotional spiel to Willow. He's like, "If I had someone in my life, a baby perhaps," like you hear it start to come in, and then it kind of like falters and falls away, as if it's like almost as if like the music gods are like, "Oh, wait, this is bullshit. Never mind."
Yeah.
And I just love that. I love how it's used. And then the best time it's used, and I'm sorry if I interrupted you before you got to
You're
it,
fine.
is at the very end when Willow finally realizes like, everyone's getting beat up by Bavmorda. I've got to go in and save the Laura Danis. He enters Bavmorda's room, and Willow earns Madmartigan's theme. Like it plays for Willow for the first and only time in the movie, and like you really feel that moment for Willow when he finally becomes the hero of the story. I mean, he's the hero the whole time, but like when he realizes he's the hero.
Yeah.
Cool. So
when he points the finger back at himself.
That's right.
That's right.
So my 5-word review, I cheated. I did.
You would.
Yeah. Well, I knew you or Andrew was only going to do a 4-word, so I did 6, so I could steal one of your words.
Oh man. Okay.
There's almost always some credit, so I did 2, but both of them were 6. So the first one was ignore the bird, follow the river. I love that
Life
line,
lesson.
and for some reason it kind of reminds me of the movie. It's like, ignore the fact that this is stuff we've seen before. Just follow the river. Just enjoy the ride.
Ignore the blue screen effects.
Yeah.
Although you have to admit, some of them were so well done.
Well,
in this movie.
I mean,
for
this
the
movie
80s.
is pushing the level of technology at the time.
It's
Love
still ILM, right? This is not dude in his garage. This is big budget ILM.
I mean, Terminator 2 Judgment Day literally uses the software they wrote for this movie.
Yeah,
It's the
so
first time
good.
they used that morphing effect.
I never watched the TV show Heroes. Did any of you guys watch the TV show
Yeah.
Heroes?
Yeah.
Season 1, and then it died in season 2, a painful death.
So
I watched the whole thing though. That was good.
I never watched it, but I knew the line, so I wrote "Save the baby, save the world."
Yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
And then another quote that I wrote down. So the movie starts, and I mean we're 30 seconds into the movie, and then I pause it, and I have to have this conversation with my wife because she always watches the movies with me. And I said, "Do you think? Obviously, we wouldn't have a movie if we did this, but do you think the reason why the prophecy is fulfilled is because she, Bad Morta, hears the prophecy and therefore fulfills it? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy." Because if she
that sounds about right.
because
Yeah.
if she hears there's going to be a girl that's going to rise up and kill you, and if she does nothing, then odds are that girl, no one knows who she is, right? Because she's like born of some peasant. She just grows up and nothing happens. But because she made her important and she forced others to rally around the baby, she creates her own doom. Right? Like it's a so the line that I wrote down, it reminded me, have you guys ever seen Kung Fu Panda?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it
We all
reminded
have
me
kids.
Yeah. So it reminded me of the line that Oogway says to Shifu when he says, "One often meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it." That's what it reminds me of. So.
I mean, if there's one thing we've learned from fiction, it's that if you hear a prophecy about yourself, like, just give in. There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Right. Yeah.
If you try to stop it, it's going to happen. If you don't try to stop
live
it,
your life until it happens.
Yeah.
Just
until
let it
Harry
go.
Potter kills you, just let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or
don't waste the energy.
Yeah, it just comes back to. I mean, you're right. If Voldemort doesn't go to try to kill Harry, if he just leaves him alone, then he probably ends up taking over the world or something. So it's his own fault. So this movie breaks my rule, right? So the other two guys, Cameron, you don't know this, but I have like a weird, maybe rule's not the right word, but like a measuring stick. If I take a lot of notes, that usually means I didn't like the movie because that means I'm spending so much time writing and not watching the movie. However, because I've seen this movie so many times, there were parts that I wanted to make sure I got to talk about. So I wrote many, many, many notes. And also I could look down away from the screen because I've seen it. So this is one of those movies where I actually have to scroll up and down to view my notes because I took so many. And we're not going to go through, obviously, all of them, but some of the things that reminded me, I think Andrew mentioned that this is very Star Wars-y, is like, are the two brownies, are they the R2 and C-3PO of this movie?
They're the comic relief for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all. But you know what?
And isn't one of those the guy from My Big Fat Greek Wedding or
Jason somebody, I forget his name.
Yeah.
Cameron, you're muted.
Not driving Miss Daisel.
Wait, maybe it's not Jason.
The fabulous Mrs. Daisel or whatever her name. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Kevin Pollak.
Kevin Pollak. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, the short one's Kevin Pollak. And he's really funny. Okay. And Cameron, you're muted. I'm sure what you said was brilliant.
I've been talking. I was like, wow, these guys really want to get those points out. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, Kevin Pollak has an amazing podcast called Alchemy This, which is him and a bunch of other actors improvising scenes, and it's really good.
Because I know his Kevin Pollak Chat Show podcast. I mean, that was honestly like the first podcast I ever got into, and he tells a lot of great Willow stories in it.
Yeah. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Okay, we have to go here real quick because Sam, you brought it up, and this is great. So in the trivia, one of the pieces of trivia I captured, during his off hours from shooting, Kevin Pollak and Rick Overton, who was the other brownie, would hit up a bar in San Rafael, California, where they ended up performing improv. So making an improv.
There's a connection.
One of the audience members noticed and proceeded to get up on stage and participate. That person was Robin Williams.
Oh, how cool.
And Pollak, already a fan of Robin Williams, ended up just stepping back and watching Williams perform. I think that's amazing.
Oh, that is awesome.
It's just amazing.
Talk about experience.
Although that's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of a D-hole move, right? Like, you're Robin Williams. You're one of the most famous comics of the time. You see some up-and-comers up on stage, and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to go over and take over.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 88, right? I mean, Robin Williams at this point is known for Mork and Mindy and some stand-up, right? I mean, he's not like Robin
I
Williams.
guess.
He's not Mrs. Doubtfire yet. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he's not Aladdin or anything. But I mean, Mork and Mindy, he was known.
Yeah, he's still known.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he's just at this bar and he's like, hey, this will be fun. I don't know. I think I think it was probably meant to be more well intended than maybe.
I don't mean to speak ill of the dead.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah. A couple notes I'm gonna cook through here real quick, and then we'll I don't know, we'll do something else. I did write the only reason why they would make camp in the mountains is so that they can have the cool sled scene later, because you would never make camp there.
That is something that I thought of for this time around. Or, I was like, why are they up in the very top of this mountain?
Yeah,
is this the quickest way to Nockmar?
No sense. Yeah.
I mean, there's a village just down below. Go like you're the Nockmar army. Just go kick those villagers out of their houses and sleep there.
Yeah.
And that sled scene, look, the sled scene, I admit, is cheesy, but it's so much fun. And my kids lost their minds when Mad Mardigan falls off and turns into a snowball. Doesn't make any sense, and it's stupid. But I laughed as a kid. My kids laughed.
Yeah.
But it's also a very 80s thing. 80s movies love to put these sequences in that they were like, we're going to get a theme park ride off of this. You got like the Goonies water slide sequence. You got E.T. bike riding. It was a big thing in the 80s.
Yeah, that note specifically was movies and cartoons in the 80s taught us that if you roll down a snow hill, you will turn into a giant ball.
Of the fakest looking snow ever.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was, like foam or something, but it still made me laugh. I mean, like last night I was watching this, I was still laughing. I didn't care. I know it was dumb. I mean, Andrew, did that part work for you, or was that just roll your eyes?
I mean, literally, I thought, okay, we've reached ultimate cheese here.
Yeah.
I won't try to defend that scene.
No, I'm not defending it. I just think it's funny. I'm not saying it's great. I just think it's funny. I also do like that he. So the whole. I don't know. How do we feel about using the love potion as an excuse to be a little rapey? Right? Like
a little.
Again, a little, definitely late 80s or 80s. You really couldn't. Could you do something? Could you do that scene nowadays? I don't know.
You couldn't kiss her in her sleep. I mean, that's the most. That's as.
But he still did kind of force the kiss later on as the tin is collapsing.
Yeah, she leans into that.
She does though. She totally does.
Yeah, she wants it.
Man, Saoirse has some stuff going on at home, I think. I mean, yes, the love story is also one of those things. It's like, but like I think they give you just enough breadcrumbs that you're like, yeah, Saoirse definitely has some mommy issues. She probably hasn't been with a lot of guys. Like, I mean, certainly no guys like Mad Mardigan, and no one who's going to spout poetry to her and then like put a blade to their throat. Although I do also just kind of love the idea that maybe Saoirse didn't fall for Mad Mardigan. Maybe she was just looking at him and was like, it would piss my mom off so much if I brought this guy home for dinner. I mean, as a kid, like I thought that was the height of romance. Like as a preteen, I was like, one day I will say that to a girl, that you were my moon, my sun, my starlit sky, and
without you, I dwell in darkness.
I may have written in a love note or two that I always chickened out on sending, but
yeah. I was wondering. So Andrew, did that part work for you at all? Like the love, like when she turns, are you just looking at her going, "But why?"
Partially. I mean, we saw it coming, and I was kind of prepared for it, but I don't know. If I had seen this in the 90s, maybe early 90s, it might have worked for me as a little tot, but as an adult, I don't know.
Serious question though that we need to figure out, guys. We got to get to the bottom of this. How does the Dust of Broken Hearts work? Because Rule gets knocked by it and sees a cat and falls in love with the cat. Now I was like, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is whoever it hits, whichever female. I guess whatever female he sees.
But Mad Mardigan sees both Finn Brazell and, I mean, I hate to say it, but Laura Dannon, and he obviously doesn't fall in love with either of them.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
so I think Rule just has a thing for cats, maybe has a secret kink.
Well, he is scared of rats. He has the rat dream. So maybe, I don't know. Like, you're right. Maybe he does have like a weird thing with cats.
The enemy of my enemy is my sex object.
I don't know. I do love the 80s trope, though, that when he gets scared, he jumps up 12 feet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good 80s trope.
The brownies are a bit cartoonish.
So we're going to go back a conversation because, again, I have more information. And I actually, so there's a deleted scene that I wish actually was in the movie, in like a director's cut. And that's when Sorsha gets to the castle and the dragon thing is happening and she's looking for the baby. She's looking around and realizing that all these stone frozen people, right? And one of them is her dad.
Oh.
And she actually like breaks part of the stone or whatever so she can talk to him. And he's like, they actually have a conversation. He says, your mother did this. She killed all these people. She's evil. You need to side with Willow and the baby. You need to defeat your mom because she's evil. Maybe there's probably better dialogue in there. But basically, Dad is the one that is like, you need to help these people. And so that's part...
He pushed her over the edge, basically.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why she changes side as opposed to... Because when I was a kid, I didn't care what her motivation was. I just cared that, in my opinion, the hot lady chose the hot dude and they got to kiss a little bit. Like,
And I'm just a sucker for like a good redemption story.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. It is that. But
I think it may have cheapened it if that were in the movie.
You think
to be
so?
honest.
I could see it. It depends how it was handled, but yeah.
Because I think it's more organic.
Or maybe she sees...
Wait, so her father has like a stone... Is he in like a stone prison inside a statue?
Yeah, because remember when they walked around, there's people frozen like in stone or whatever.
And tears lean.
Yeah, exactly. Tears lean, yeah.
Yeah.
And you see the I guess she's still a crow at this point. She says, this is the work of Bad Morta. Like she has already been here and laid waste to this castle.
This place is cursed, Peck.
Yes. And it has trolls. Oh, I hate trolls.
Troll dung.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question of the pod?
Of course.
Or at least Sam and Andrew, since they were kind of newbies. Sam, couldn't remember.
It's just the Alzheimer's in me.
I was just wondering when Willow went up for his test, what did you guys think the correct answer was? Which finger would you have chosen?
I thought it was on the staff.
No.
I wouldn't have chosen anything the guy was giving me. I would have had to choose the staff.
Honestly, I saw the actual answer before it even was asked. So again, I don't know if that's because I've seen so many fantasy movies at this point in my life that I expected that.
Yeah.
But I saw it coming.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, and Andrew, you have the disadvantage of having seen The Matrix where there is no spoon, or you've seen Kung Fu Panda where there is no secret ingredient, right? Like you've seen those tropes. And so I'm trying to think, did they do the false thing, the false MacGuffin or whatever in Lord of the Rings? I don't think they did. There's some other movies where like they give you the... Oh, they do it in Space Jam, right? It's Michael Jordan's secret formula juice stuff, and then they give it to the players, and they all think that they're special, and then it turns out that it's just water, right?
Well, it just turns out to be sweat from his back, side that drips down out of his shorts.
Well, that would be special
Menards.
Stuff. No.
Call back.
Menards. Oh, he just wants to.
Yeah, I mean, it's the end of Star Wars. It's don't use your targeting computer. The answer is within you.
Yeah,
it's internal, not external.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's just it's impossible for me to look at this with any sort of objectivity or know what I thought the first time I watched. So it's fun to get your perspectives. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you've seen a lot of movies. You guys have done a lot of these podcasts, so you've seen at least 342 movies.
Yep.
I believe this is the first and maybe the only time that a film has ever employed Chekhov's disappearing pig trick. Is that a true statement?
Oh,
that might be the case. Yeah.
If you disappear a pig in the first act, it's got to disappear in the third. That's not a real question, Sean. Don't think
No,
about it.
I'm thinking about something similar though. I'm not specifically the pig. Obviously, the pig part is
Delicious.
Original.
original to this idea, but something not. Yeah, I mean, I guess we have seen it, pretty recently. Like when we watched Enola Holmes, right? She tries the fighting move and it fails in the first act. She tries the move in the second act and it fails. But the third act, not only does it succeed, but she accidentally kills the guy. So, spoiler, I guess. But anyway, yeah, I think you're right. This would definitely be the first time we have Chekhov's pig.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it. Chekhov's pig. That might be the name of the episode. I don't think we can get much better than that.
Chekhov's gun is a recurring joke on Green Shirt too, so I had to stay on brand.
Oh, sure. I mean, I would assume that you're making a Chekhov as in from the Star Trek universe character, right? Pavel Chekhov's pig.
Occasionally we get high culture, highbrow enough to go back to Anton Chekhov. But,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh well, I was going to ask when they go to that tavern where he meets Mad Mardigan for the second time. Would you describe that place as a hive of scum and villainy? Is that an accurate?
It's a. I mean, it does
They're
feel
awfully
like
happy,
that.
though. I mean, there's a lot of happy people in that.
I don't know.
tavern.
The second they see Peck, they are not happy. Peck, Willow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a horrible person.
Take another shot. Do you think that it didn't occur to me at the time when I was watching this younger, but it occurred to me this time. Do you think the reason why he asked the woman if she had any fresh milk because she was a woman?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Gender roles are pretty well defined in this world.
Like, I'm not asking for milk because you might be the barmaid and have access to cow milk. I'm asking you because you're a woman and endowed and might be able to breastfeed this child.
I didn't read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As a virgin Willow watcher, I virgin being to the movie. I have children.
Sure.
Just so I've at least done it twice. So
Or at least a cup.
yeah, I haven't I didn't read it that way when I saw it.
I didn't really. I was just curious. It's just one of those dumb notes that I wrote. Like, I wonder if this is a thing. Let's see. Last couple of things. I do love it. The scene at the tavern when Lug comes in, and as soon as he sees there's another woman who has large apple breasts, and he just immediately starts grabbing her and groping her, and he's like, "You want to breed?" But my favorite part, I still laugh, is when he realizes that Mad Mardigan's not a woman, and he just says, "Gentlemen, meet Lug," and ducks, and he just starts beating the crap out of these soldiers. Like, the soldiers don't care that this giant is beating them up. We have to chase Mad Mardigan, but like, Paul Bunyan is kicking your ass here. Like, it cracked me up. It still makes me laugh. Last few notes here. Let's see. I'm glad Eric stopped to pick up the brownies on the way down. That was nice of him to do that.
The brownies always find a way.
Yeah, they do.
Man, talk about, steps, right? For every one step of even Willow, these brownies are going like a mile in steps for them. It's just crazy. It's a brownie mile.
A brownie mile, yeah. Let's see. Here's a random little thing. So I play Clash Royale on my phone. And it's it's a game that spun off of the Clash of Clans. And there's a character that you can play that is called Mother Witch. And Mother Witch turns your enemies into pigs. And I 100% think that they got the inspiration from this movie.
Yeah.
I think so.
I have to imagine, because that was like the stuff of nightmare fuel for kids back in the day. Like, anyone who watched that movie, that scene.
Yeah. I will say that's one of the things I remembered was Vin Diesel there getting the teeth popping out, the bottom teeth coming in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I did remember that spot.
You Cameron, you watched this with your kiddos. Did they have any kind of weird reaction to that moment, or?
No, they were fine with that. I mean, my kid watches a lot of dark stuff. He's named after the Neverending Story, so he's seen that.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen a lot of like
Moonchild?
the dark 80s stuff. Moonchild? Oh yeah. No, he's not named Moonchild. He's a tree.
Oh, okay. All right.
Uh,
Oh, that's awesome, by the way.
yeah. No, yeah. I think like the first time we watched it, he was really into the rat dogs, and I love the rat dog effects. Like it wears the effect
so
on.
good.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, you know what it is, but it looks so real and visceral. I'll take them over the wargs any day.
And the sound
Yeah.
they make is so good. Yeah.
So he was into it the first time we watched it. The second time I put it on, he did kind of freak out when they showed up. So I think the rat dogs had an effect on him. My daughter though loved this movie. I should tell this story. And like, 10 years ago or when I was a kid, if you told me that all my daughter wanted to do with me would be to play Willow, I would have been like, oh yes, I'm doing something right as a parent. Because
wow.
all the time I'll come home, she's like, let's play Willow, Daddy, let's play Willow. And yeah, it was great the first couple times, but all playing Willow means to her is I have to call her a Laura Dannon. That's rule number 1. And rule number 2, since she's a baby, I just have to carry her everywhere while she tells me which room is which location from the movie. Okay, go upstairs to your bedroom. That's the mountains now. Okay, now go down here. This is the river. And like, okay, are you going to like interact with me? Is there any role playing, or no, I'm just carrying you around the house.
Now,
Okay.
do you carry her at all times, or do you use a prop baby?
I practice with the prop baby first.
Okay,
so I could
practice
make
with the
sure.
prop baby.
Safety
Okay.
first. Yes, absolutely.
And then you take a cardboard box down the stairs and
As the sled.
like
Yes.
And then
There
you
you
need to wrap up your son in big foam, and he can be the snowball bit.
That's the only time he'll ever play. Is like every once in a while, I'll be like, "Hey, Trey, do you want to play Mad Mardigan rolling down the hill now?" And he's like, "Okay."
Yeah. Let me put you in the sleeping bag and roll you down. You'll be great. Let's see. Last couple of things. I always thought Eric's hand sword thingy was really dumb. I just think that's
I always loved it.
as a kid, I thought
that.
it was cool. Now I look at it and go, "That's so impractical. You're losing, losing so much power."
I thought the same thing.
It's just.
I love sorcerer swords. I love the swords in this.
No, I mean a Skeletor sword was gnarly and massive.
Yeah.
Like I want to
yeah.
forget the Game of Thrones swords. That's the prop sword I want. That thing was God, it was huge.
And his mask. I love how Kale just bellows all of his lines. Now you die.
Yeah,
Slay the beast. Find the child.
He does. It feels like he has a theatrical background.
I also feel like maybe the first couple times he didn't yell so loud, but since he just has like a straight plate in front of his face, basically, like no one could understand him. And
yeah.
What's that, General? Could you speak up?
I'm sorry, Bane. We can't understand you. Can you?
Also, probably because there's
with the brownies.
Yeah.
There is like one shot when Mad Mardigan. I love it's obvious, but I love the scene where Mad Mardigan's waving the sword and everyone backs off and runs because of the dragon behind him.
Yeah.
And then he realizes and runs back, and it's the only time you really get a close up of the Nockmar army, and they are all like old dudes in their 60s and 70s, like to a T, every one of them. Yeah. I don't know where they got those extras.
I thought that too, and I thought the same thing. It's like, why are these guys all old? I just, have they killed off all of their youngins?
It's all they could afford at the time. Come on.
Yeah. But that was, I mean, I guess kind of, other than, I guess the snow part and that moment are the two really kind of cartoon moments, like standing next to the bad guys.
Yeah.
And they just kind of looked at each other like, are we supposed to kill him now? Or he's here. Should I grab him? No? Okay. It's like the movie, it's like the human equivalent of like when the ground falls, but the coyote just stays there for a moment before gravity kicks in.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think both of those moments, though, do work as well as they do, which for me is pretty well because of the acting. I mean, I think the acting for the vast majority of the movie is pretty great. Like they least they all believe what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like there's no phoning it in. I mean, Val Kilmer is amazing. Like he can sell anything, and Warwick Davis. I mean, he was 19 when he made this.
17.
That's impressive. 17.
Yeah.
Like I think he carries the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
They can definitely sell it. And as a matter of fact, they're the reason I invested in Drop Baby.
There you go. There you go.
They sell it.
You hadn't even seen the movie, but you knew.
I knew. I was
you
like,
could feel.
look, these guys are the spokespeople.
Well, and Warwick Davis got the role because he was Wicket in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Lucas
Yeah.
liked it so much.
He was so kind of enchanted by how good of an actor he was in a mask when he was, well, I guess,
Okay.
4 or 5 years younger.
Back up.
Okay.
Back up. Just rewind that a second.
Yep.
He was impressed by this man in a suit
Boy.
with no lines, where you never saw his face, so you can't see his reactions and his facial expressions.
He says things. He's just
Well,
saying.
to be fair, he had a smaller
yeah,
part originally. Like they
he
made him like the featured Ewok because
then-
he could
And
mime
then they
so well in the suit.
And then they made 2 Ewok movies, which are on Disney Plus, and we will watch for this podcast. Gosh
Oh,
dang
wow.
And
Oh,
I've seen at least one of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on.
it! Yeah, but I mean, there's how many other times have we seen that? We're like, oh, they cast. I mean, okay, we've seen it like the really bad version. Like we watched Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, right? Like what did Luke Besson see from that guy and thought that's the guy I want in my movie, right? Because there's something that happened. He's like, that's the lead, and then you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I
He's
think
been good in other movies, but
has he
I think I don't know.
the one where they get powers by accident and they like terrorize the
Yeah,
town.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I've not seen it, Chronicle, but I heard it was good
Chronicle.
and he was good in
Yeah,
it.
it's
But
decent.
yeah.
but he's bad in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and he's really bad in Valerian. I mean, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
I'm not going to argue that.
go back and listen to that episode. You get to hear an hour and 15 minutes of us talking about how bad he is.
Well, I'll just nod and go, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't hope you see what I'm saying. It's kind of like saying we're going to give Alec Baldwin the part on 30 Rock because of that scene in Beetlejuice when he was in the sheet as the ghost.
But yeah, I mean,
he was such a good actor in that one scene.
He also spent time with him off, out of the
Yeah.
context, talking to him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's not like he only saw the movie that he was making.
Well, and going back to Andrew's point, he needed Hobbit-sized people in this movie.
Sure.
He was around Hobbit-sized people as Ewoks,
Yeah.
if not children, right? And he knew that Warwick would be able to had some sort of acting chops and had a look, right? He had seen him personally, even with the mask off. He had seen this guy personally. So
he pecked a peck a pickle peck.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Saving that, or did that just come to you?
I was sitting on that one for a while.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, Andrew. Last couple notes I'm going to get to before I do clips because I have a lot of clips. Let's see. I never understood why the magic hurt his wrist.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Like
I thought the same thing. I was like, that must be one really heavy stick. Or he's straining really hard to say those words and it's just hurting it.
My question there was always like, what was Willow's long game in that scene? Like he didn't know Beth Morta was going to knock over the potion and send herself to the netherworld. Like, what was he just buying time?
Yeah, that's something I can think of. Just whatever trick you can pull out, you're gonna try.
I know one trick.
Yeah, and it worked.
Yeah, yeah. And even if it hadn't, like Mad Mardigan was bursting in just a couple minutes. So yeah.
I do. Yeah, it is kind of weird to think. I mean, like, so you have the two witches, and they have a magic fight.
Oh, I love it.
When the magic fight is pretty good, but then it just evolves into a fist fight.
And I love that too.
Could you imagine Dumbledore? Not Dumbledore.
Right hook.
Could you imagine
Gandalf and Sauron?
Yes,
Saruman.
Saruman like punching each other. I mean,
Side note,
Yeah.
if you go look at the picture of the I forgot her name, the Good Witch, Glinda the Good Witch.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and you look at the picture on IMDb of her, if you're familiar with the show Fringe,
yeah.
She and the old guy from the show Fringe, they're the same person.
Ah, Denethor.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
All right.
Just look at the picture.
I didn't think she
they
had
could
an
be twins.
IMDb picture.
Well, not her picture. It's a picture. It's like a set photo.
Oh,
in the-
Russell.
yeah. She doesn't
What
have a
is
Line
with-
D photo.
Why is Bav Morta's go-to with her enemies to turn them into animals? Seems like a weird fetish.
Maybe that's her skill
It's
set.
the way the magic works, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's just
Yeah. Okay.
it's what she's good at. Gandalf is good at fireworks. She's good at animal things.
Oh, another Lord of the Rings thing I
Bestiality.
noticed. Connection. There's a lot of it. Rule and the cats. As speaking of Roselle as the crow, there's the scene where she's leading him the tears, and she goes, "As the crow flies, you fools!" I was
Fly,
like,
you
"Fly,
fools."
you fools!"
Nice.
Oh, this was before, years before Lord of the Rings.
Well, the movie. Yeah, the
Yes,
books.
yeah.
The books
I
have
don't
been
know if
out
that
for a
line's in
minute.
the book. Is
The
it?
is.
greatest adventure the world's ever seen.
Yeah, that movie, the Hobbit cartoon, scares my wife. She can't hear the phrase "my precious" without her skin crawling. It just freaks
My
her out.
It's just
Kid became obsessed with Gollum because of that cartoon.
I wonder if I could show my girls The Hobbit. I would definitely show them the cartoon over the freaking Jackson
At least start with the cartoon and see.
Yeah.
see how
Right,
that
you
goes.
know?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
did.
My last note that I want to talk about, because there's a couple other ones, but we don't have to, is I do like that Mad Mardigan. We do get a character arc with him where he starts off as, I'm just doing whatever I can to get out of the cage. Then he turns into, yes, I will help you get to the lake and I will help you escape because it's convenient for me also, but I am kind of a good guy and I will help you.
He's the Han
Two,
Solo to me.
he does kind of Han Solo it a little bit. And then, well, the bigger difference, obviously the Han Solo movie part where it doesn't, it would only be truly the Han Solo is if after the battle at the castle, he says, "Deuces, I'm out." And then when they
And then comes back.
and then comes back
Saves
to
the
invade
day.
the castle.
Yeah.
That's be kind of the only way it'd be truly that. But like the moment, it never affected me before, but this time watching it actually, I don't know if it affected me, but I noticed it more is when he stands up and says, "I serve the Nelwyn." Like,
Yes.
like that is a cool moment for him to, he is now serving. I serve him. This kid that he's 17, but this kid that I've been mean to and insulted and whatever, I now work for him. It's just a really cool moment in the movie. I really like that.
I totally agree. That's one of those moments that I've really only noticed the past couple times I've watched it, and I think the last 2 times I've kind of teared up in those moments. I think the music is played really well, and I mean there's some lines there, but most of that scene is conveyed through the acting, through Val Kilmer's acting, and even Eric's and Willow's. You sense that hesitation from Mad Mardigan as he's like, am I giving my life over to something bigger than me? Is this happening right now?
Yeah. And it's great.
Yeah, Val Kilmer was spot on in this movie.
Who?
He really was.
Who, Sam?
Kilmer.
Okay.
Val Kilmer.
Val.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. No, you're
Did
fine.
I say it?
It sounded like veal, like you're hungry and you're wanting some food.
Maybe that would be good. Some parm.
It was funny when I was, so that moment happened and I went back and I was going to capture for audio that line, but it doesn't quite work just for the audio. I think we kind of need the acting moment and the visual.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it kind of annoyed me, and I don't know why. So, like, remember in Empire Strikes Back when Han Solo's gearing up to go find Luke, and that guy's like, "You won't make it." He goes, "Then I'll see you in hell." Right? I always like that line. So, whenever it's said in movies. So when Val Kilmer says, "I serve the Nelwyn, do you want to come with us?" And Eric says, "You'll never get past, Bad Morta's army." And then he says, "Then this is where we say goodbye." I kind of want him to say, "Then I'll see you in hell." Like, I think that line would have been better, but
That would be in Sean's special edition of
yeah, that's my
Willow.
director edition.
Yeah.
Where hell exists in this world. That's it. Do you have anything else anything else before I do clips? Cameron, you got any other last notes?
I got a funny one and kind of like a more analytical one. This time watching it, there's a scene when it's just Willow and Roselle in the tent at the end, and she says something. She's giving Willow the kind of speech that he can do this. Bring them in. We're gonna save the day, and it's just like this heroic dolly in and swilling music on a goat chewing.
Yeah.
You take out like the all the like the post production stuff. It's just a shot of a goat chewing. It's like the most heroic thing ever.
Yeah, I
And
love it.
I don't know if you guys notice this, and maybe I just have never paid attention to goats before, but were there? It looked like there were like two teats hanging from this goat's neck.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. I don't know what those were.
I don't either. I don't know enough about goat.
And I hope that I said that word correctly. It is teats.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I don't think that's what they are, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's either that or mozzarella sticks. I wasn't sure what they were there.
Yeah.
Something was hanging.
She ate a shoe, and that's the shoelaces inside.
Something was dangling
go.
there. Yeah.
And I guess kind of two analytical things. So one is, like the whole Willow's character arc is him searching for competence. He has to realize that, like, yes, he is capable to lead, to do heroic things, to find the magic with him and everything. And I don't know if this was intentional on the writer's part. It could have just been like the kind of jokes they like to do. But one thing I noticed this time is that all of these characters who like these trope archetypes that are normally all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful, never mess up. Like, everyone in this movie is kind of an F up. Like, the High Aldwin can't control where the bird flies. Shalindria doesn't know what is going on outside of her forest. Like, she doesn't know about Tiersleen or Fin Raziel. She just sends Willow off on a quest without even knowing what he's supposed to be doing. Fin Raziel forgets that she ages. Bav Morda falls for the pig trick and then, like, sends herself off to the abyss. And so I just, and yeah, the greatest swordsman that ever lived also, slips in the snow and is kind of a doofus.
Yeah.
So like, so again, I don't know if that's intentional, but I kind of feel like Willow is kind of seeing that, everyone in the world kind of fakes it till they makes it. Like, and that's something I can really relate with imposter syndrome. It's just like something I always have to remind myself, like, no one knows what they're doing. So that's where I find my confidence. And I think that might be because I grew up with Willow.
Oh.
And then I just think that before we get to any sections, we need to talk about Kaya and the Nelwyn village. Like, I think Kaya and his family is such like a great element. Like, you don't think of her when you think of Willow characters, you don't think of those Migosh or Kaya or the kids, but they are so like, she is so good. And like when they reunite at the end of the movie, it's so touching. And I just think the whole first act of this movie is written so well. Like, you get Willow's character, you get all the stakes. His farm is in danger of being taken. He can't afford to go traipsing through the countryside. And even if he could, he's got a great life here with his kids and his wife. And it just really sets up the stakes and everything really well, I think.
Well, it really highlights the reason why he lacks confidence is because he's got Burgle Cut, which is what a cool name for a villain or a foil.
Yes.
Not a villain, but a foil that, and he's a trope. I actually wrote down village leader is also the village asshole trope. But
he's not the leader. I mean, he's kind of like
he's a politician.
bully.
He's a politician.
Yeah.
Well, same thing, Sam. He's it's the same thing.
That's true.
he thinks he's the leader.
Yeah, and so but he's constantly undermining and second guessing Willow, which is part of the reason why Willow probably has such confidence issues, is because he's got this guy who's like a foot taller than him. And
Willow's short, even for an Elwyn.
Yeah, so I don't know. You're right. The first act with them in that village is really great, and there's some humor there too, especially when they're forming the Fellowship of the Baby, and and even the wizard guy, he kind of sees what's going on here a little bit. He kind of realizes that Burglecut's kind of a douche, and so he's like, this thing needs a leader, and that leader is you, Burglecut. And so then Burglecut screams for the best fighter to come back with them, because when I was a kid, I didn't understand that joke. Like when he screams Vonkar, you're like, I never understood what was happening. My dad
I thought he was like swearing at first or something. I was like, is this like a Nelwyn swear?
Yeah, or he was just screaming, or he was just like, I never understood that until my dad had to explain. He's like, no. Now that his life is in danger, because before his life was in danger at the village, so he wants to keep the best warrior there. But now that his life is going to be in danger on the road, he wants that guy to go with him. And I'm like, ever the politician. So there you go.
I also love the local Nelwyn village band.
Oh yeah, they're great.
Great.
And there's a great Star Wars connection in that village band.
I'm sure.
Well, no, it's not those guys. I don't know which one, but one of the players is Kenny Baker, who is
yeah, okay, yeah. I think it's the one with the beard. I think he has a line in the meeting room also.
He might say, well, who knew that? Whoever I played.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Kenny
They
Baker.
actually had a single that they put out.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's called Drop Baby.
I was going to say, did they do a single?
God. I thought you were going to say something like R1D1, single.
No.
Drop Baby. Jesus. Oh, my gosh. We're 1-star reviews from mothers. The last few tropes I wrote down. Andrew or Sam, did either one of you have any notes? Any more things to talk about?
No, I don't do such things.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm good.
All right. Tropes, I did write being scared makes you jump. I mentioned the Home Alone defense trope. We had that one.
I wrote that too, yeah.
And at least there were 3 Wilhelm screams.
Yeah.
I heard him.
Yeah, I captured one of them, and then the second one, I'm like, I'm not going to capture that one. And then there was the third one. I'm like, oh, come on, guys. Give me a break.
I thought about putting together like a montage of all of General Kale's bellows, but it already exists on YouTube, of course. So you can just go there to look for it if you want.
That's great.
Nice.
He so that guy we've seen, not for the podcast, but he's more famously known as the giant Nazi that Indiana Jones fights in Raiders. He's the guy.
I think I've heard that. Okay.
Yeah, he's the guy what gets it by the propeller.
Okay.
He looks very different when he shaves the beard.
Yeah, and he's not screaming
grows
at
the
you.
beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, here's some clips. I captured a bunch. Like I said, a lot of these just reminded me of what it's like to be a parent. So I'm pretty sure all 4 of us have said this at one point.
Hey, I will not be ignored.
That's right.
I love his relationship with his family because it's not like Pollyanna. Like there's still tension and friction, but it's just such a positive kind of vibe.
Yeah. Let's see. I had to. I'm sorry.
Out of the way, Pick.
I had to have it.
I worked at a restaurant and there was a fellow waiter who would say that every time he was like walking through the back alley, and I knew instantly we would be friends.
If this doesn't show you how much I've forgotten of this film, in college, you guys remember Bart Tolbert?
Yeah.
He would say that all the time, and I had no idea
Nice.
where it was coming from until I saw this again. I'm like, wait a second. Now I totally understand.
There was and I had a similar kind of thing where I always knew what it was from because I watched this movie all through high school, and I own it on Blu-ray, but and of course I do. But I went to high school with a guy. His name was Brian, and he was every bit of 6'4". He played on the football team, but he was also a nerd. And I remember walking into class with him, and the teacher couldn't have been more than 5'1". And she was standing in the doorway, and he said,
Out of the way, Pick.
and she did not think it was funny. I have never seen a 6'4" man look so small compared to a 5'1" teacher, but she did not think it was funny. Those of us in earshot thought it was hilarious, but we didn't show it because we were a little scared of her. Hey, Sam.
Yes.
What's your favorite drink?
Favorite drink?
Is it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Of course it's beer.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. I didn't capture the laugh afterwards, but there you go.
It comes in pints?
I'm getting one. Here's the first and the only one that I captured. There you go.
Yep.
Wilhelm was all over the place, but he kept falling, getting back up.
Yeah,
so
he
good for
did.
him.
It's one of the largest families there in that world.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great.
So in some of the trivia, I read that Val Kilmer ad-libbed a majority of his lines. This feels very ad-libbed to me.
Mumbo, Jumbo, I am hungry. Go get me some eggs or something.
We are not afraid of you.
Now!
I always like that. I feel like there was some line there that was supposed to be said, but I feel like the whole mumbo jumbo he just made up.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to capture the whole thing, but I thought it was, too long of a clip to play. But I just, anytime anyone uses the phrase, "Oh man, it'll put hair in your chest," I have to say this every time.
Her name is not Styx. She's Alora Dannon, the future empress of Terrace Lane. And the last thing she's gonna want is a hairy chest.
Every time.
I've gotten my daughter to eat food she didn't want to eat because I say like, well, let's play Blackroot.
That, by the way, that Blackroot was just a vanilla bean. It's just vanilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
This one is titled "Go Home." I forgot. Oh yeah, this is the guy. Yeah, this is the brownies. All right, this is the longest clip of the night, but it's made me laugh.
We'll never keep up with those horses.
Then we will have to track them.
That would take forever. Besides, even if we find them, they'll catch us, stick us in cages, torture us, and finally devour us.
Are you suggesting we go home?
Nah, this is more fun.
All right. Fine then. Come on.
It is funny how like the brownies go from like just major exposition devices to just only comedic relief by the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even like to the very end, even when Raoul takes his hat off and he's bald, and his buddy doesn't know that. And he kind of gives him this look like, "I didn't know you had a tattoo on your noggin."
Yeah.
And this is also something that every one of us has said, "Hey, child of ours, go pick up your clothes."
No. No.
We've all done that.
My wife
That
and I
is
quote
correct.
this movie all the time, and I think when I showed it to my kids, I forget which line it was, but there was a time when they're like, "Hey, you say that all the time." It's probably either like, "Willow, you idiot,"
Yeah.
or whenever they get hurt, I'm always like, "Can you?" Or, here, I'll do my Patrick Stewart. "Can you ride? Let's ride, Willow."
Yes.
Sean Connery as Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, that's kind of
my
the
go-to.
joke. Yeah, the joke is that his Patrick Stewart sounds like Sean Connery doing a Patrick Stewart.
But a bad one at that. A bad one even. My favorite line in this movie is when Mad Mardigan goes, "If only I had a sword." But only because of his hand movement when he does that. Like,
Yeah.
he does this like he's feeling the sword. I don't know. I found myself laughing out loud this last time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I laughed a lot. All right, time for this.
And now for some more bad news. Ready?
I've already said most of this trivia, which is great because otherwise it would just be another 7 minutes of me reading. James Horner's score was frequently used in theatrical trailers in the 80s and 90s, carrying a $10,000 licensing fee from MGM and Lucasfilm.
Wow,
So,
good for him.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I wonder if that made more money than the movie made when it was released.
I don't know. This movie financially, it needed the.
It did okay.
Well, it needed the international release as well as VHS rentals and sales and stuff to make up its money. The only other one I haven't mentioned was composer James Horner was known for frequently ripping off. I don't like the word ripping off, so I'm going to say borrowing classical music in his scenes or his scores. In Willow, the Alora Dannon theme is taken from the Bulgarian hymn Mir Stankatli. I probably didn't pronounce that right. While the
That was
heroic
actually perfect.
No, okay. I'm just assuming
sorry.
everything you say is a lie.
I did.
And while the heroic motif for Val Kilmer is clearly, whoever wrote this was very snarky, by the way. Like there was like a music major that was really angry at James Horner. Because I can just see it. While the heroic motif for Val Kilmer is clearly an imitation of the main theme of Robert Schumann's Third Symphony, the Rhenish. So anyway.
Rhenish.
Whatever.
Because I was reading about that today too, just looking up because I was trying to track down some of those other doo-doo or whatever. You do it better. The trumpets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wikipedia was saying like he intentionally used other like classical and mythological elements, just like Lucas did when he was writing the script. So he like intentionally did that. Intentionally ripped it off.
Yeah. Composers borrow stuff from each other all the time.
All the time.
Hans Zimmer has borrowed stuff. John Williams.
John Williams' Imperial March is Mars from Gustav Holst.
Well,
Yeah.
so is a third of the movie Gladiator that Hans Zimmer wrote is just like the entire battle scene. And it's funny because my son, has listened. We've listened to the entire whole suite, and so he knows the Mars theme very well. And so when I have that Gladiator soundtrack on my phone, we're driving, and he goes, "Dad, I didn't know this was Mars." I said, "It's not. It's Gladiator." And he goes, "Oh, well, it sounds exactly the same." And I said, "I know, son."
Yeah.
But there's a reason for it. Roman theme. There's a reason for it. And even John Williams, like the Jaws theme, da-dum. I mean, that's from
Dvorak.
Dvorak, yeah, the New World Symphony. So I mean,
not that I know that.
Right, like it happens. So snarky trivia guy, calm yourself.
Well, I'm sorry that I posted that.
Well, next time you post it, you need to post it. Cheapseat Reviews reviewed this movie. No. All right. Time for this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Top 3.
Wait.
Oh, what? Did I miss something?
Did I miss the baby trivia? I thought you said you had a bunch of baby trivia.
Oh yeah, I did miss. I skipped the baby trivia. Sorry. Hold on, I gotta find it.
Listen, I'm invested in this now.
No, I'm glad you are. I did miss it. I missed actually another one too. So because if you notice Warwick Davis, he walks with a little bit of a limp. So the baby got sick, like car sick, the swaying back and forth. So the scene where she's crying and Burglecut takes her, that's actual spit up. She legit, she actually threw up on him. And that scene was like, his reaction is real. And they just kept filming and they kept it in the movie.
So awesome.
What?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Because she got
I don't know if I
car sick.
believe it, but that's amazing.
That baby is a method actor.
Yeah,
that
right?
That's a perfect little baby actor.
Yeah, I love it. The last piece I missed was Joanne Whaley, who's Sorsha. She accidentally stuck her sword in a stuntman's foot when she stabs it into the ground right before she takes her helmet off at the tavern.
Her and Val Kilmer got married.
Yeah, they were, and they have a daughter.
Minute.
Yeah, they have a daughter together. Yeah, who is an actress.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I thought they had good chemistry, and I think they met on this movie. I'm not sure.
they did. Yeah, they got married because of this movie. And
what's up with Ron Howard and getting people together on his movie sets? Tom Cruise and
Nicole
Far and
Kidman,
Away
yeah.
with
Kidman.
What's her name?
Nicole Kidman,
redheaded Australian. Yep.
I went through the credits. I was surprised. Maybe Ron Howard didn't have the clout he does now, but he didn't have his dad in this movie, and I was surprised because his dad is in like or his brother. Yeah, Rance. Yeah,
Clint would have looked
Howard.
perfect in this movie.
Clint would have been like a great troll.
He would have been like
maybe
Wilhelm getting thrown off every.
Yeah. He's just not credited anywhere.
Yeah, I mean he's not in IMDb, and I know I've said this before, and it's just one of those cool moments. I got to meet his dad, Ron Howard's dad. I got to meet him, and
did you run into him?
I did. I have a picture of him with him. Yeah.
Did you say "out of the way, Peck"?
I did not, but I did say I was a fan of his son's work, and that my nickname that Sam often uses on the podcast, I'm nicknamed after Opie from the Andy Griffin Show.
Yeah.
And he looked at me, he was like, "Yeah, I get it." I'm like, I take that as a compliment. All right, now I get to play this.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
We're going to do our top 3. I'll let Sam go first, then Cameron, then myself, then Andrew. I promise. Maybe. Andrew. Hey, I remembered you last week.
That's true.
Oh, crap. I closed out hold on. Let me get back to IMDb.
Let me get Cameron to go.
I knew I needed my notepad back up for this one. Sorry about that. I do remember what I picked though. My number 3 was Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's your third one. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, my number 2 was A Beautiful Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And my number 1 is Far and Away.
I love Far and Away so much.
Yeah. The soundtrack to that too is
John Williams. It's great.
Oh, so good.
All right, Cameron.
Yep.
So top 3 Ron Howard movies. I presume we can't pick Willow.
Yeah, that's one of the rules.
We follow that rule. Guests are allowed to bend that rule.
Well, Willow would be number 1, but we'll set that aside for now.
Sure.
It's also a little tricky because a lot of his classics I honestly haven't seen since I was a teenager. So although I think Apollo 13 would probably make it, I haven't seen it long enough to objectively say, or Cocoon. So from what I have seen recently, I would say Solo would be number 3.
Okay.
I feel the film is kind of unnecessary, and he doesn't really feel like Han Solo, but it's a really good sci-fi heist film. Number 2 is Splash. We watched that recently. It holds up. It's got some chuckles, and I got to agree, far and away, I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's also another collaboration of Ron Howard and Bob Dolman, I think the screenwriter of Willow.
Okay.
My name is Bob Dole, and I'm running for president.
Bob Dole wrote the movie. Bob Dole.
But I will say I saw Cocoon once, and I will never watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's the dog. It's one of those dog dies at the end movies that I just cannot watch. It wrecks me.
Okay, my turn. I wrote down something a little different. So I also did my number 1. I did Apollo 13. I'm going backwards because we have some of the similar movies. Number 1 was Apollo 13. Number 2, Far and Away. My number 3 was Into the Heart of the Sea. I really like that movie. I think it's really good.
I have not seen that one. Is that the one with Robert Redford?
No. So it's got Chris Hemsworth and Spider-Man. And
Moby Dick.
It's right. It's Moby Dick.
That doesn't narrow it down saying Spider-Man these days.
Well, it's young.
Oh yeah, I read that book. That book is amazing. By the
So
way,
it's the Heart of the Sea.
Yeah.
Is the novelization. It's the quote unquote true story that inspired Herman Melville's. Thank you. Moby Dick's story. It's the real story of the giant whale that attacked the boat, and honestly, the majority of the story isn't about the whale. The whale is in it, and the whale
survival.
Yeah, it's a survival story. It's really, really good. And I forgot the old man that played who's Mad Eye Moody, but he
Brendan Gleeson.
Yes, he's in it also as the older version of the Spider-Man character. I can't think of his name. I got Tobey Maguire stuck in my head.
Tom Holland.
Thank you. You need to come on the show more often just to do this.
Ever since having kids, I'm not as good at that as I used to be. So when they do come to me, I try to.
Well, like my shtick is that I can remember the character name. Sam just makes up random people. You know, he'll say, you know, that guy that was in the movie with the thing. You know, Bob Dole and Sandra Bernhardt. I'm like, what? We're watching Romancing the Stone. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. I don't know how I pulled Sandra Bernhardt out of my ass. Anyway.
Everybody looks the same.
Into the Heart of the Sea. Andrew, what you got, man?
All right. Well, I have at number 3, Ransom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Yeah. The Mel Gibson. Yeah.
Number 2, I have How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I like that movie. I do too.
I love how he makes fun of Ron Howard as the
as the director.
Yeah, that is my favorite moment.
Yeah. It is the best moment.
And the number 1, I have the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't agree with you. I think that movie's actually terrible. So.
You think the Da Vinci Code's terrible?
I think it's an absolutely big train wreck. I can't stand it. But
it's hard from the source material. You got it. Yeah. It was hard to.
I liked Angels and Demons, the movie, better than. Ooh.
Yeah.
Some Foley work there. You're fine, Cameron. You're fine. Oh, man, no worries. So we do have some Twitter action here. I posted on the Twitter that we're doing Ron Howard. Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable says Apollo 13, but not the Grinch. So he is anti-Grinch. I think Jesse is a Grinch. He and I got into a faux. Sam, this was right up your alley. Jesse and I were arguing about something that's completely irrelevant, but we were just arguing to do it.
Yeah.
And it's 100%.
And you were wrong, of course.
Yeah, of course. And because we were arguing about pizza. And I'm not going to tell you which side of the fence I'm on, Sam. I just want to hear your take. Is there such a thing as a dessert pizza?
Yes.
See, I said yes. Jesse says no. Yeah. A dessert pizza is just a cookie.
Oh my God.
It's just a cookie. And so then we went back and forth, and then I called him. He was discriminating against pizza and stuff, and it was hysterical. So it turned into like a political campaign. Don't listen to their podcast because their host hates pizza. Listen to ours because we're more inclusive.
Well, a pizza is just a flat quesadilla. So I mean, if you're going to be pedantic about it,
I'm fine with that. That's actually more apt than saying a dessert pizza is just a cookie.
Exactly.
But I kept using the word pie just to annoy him because I kept calling it a pie, and he's like, "You're using the word pie." I hope Jesse does listen to this episode. This would be great.
Hi, Jesse.
Jesse from Sudden But Inevitable podcast. Go listen to their show. It's great, and they're wrapping up their season of Firefly, getting ready to hit the movie. It's going to be great.
Nice.
We also got from podcast Ta2 Squid, TA2 Squid, says The Grinch, Da Vinci Code, and Gung Ho. So there's something a little different there.
Gung Ho.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Have I seen Gung Ho?
Michael Keaton, I believe.
I've never even heard of it.
I might have to check it out. I like Ron Howard stuff.
Fan of the show and listener for like 1,000 episodes is Maxton, who says Apollo 13. Thank you, Maxton. And also friend of the show, Melissa, says Apollo 13 and Far and Away. So we're all kind of in the same ballpark. So thank you all for participating in that little fun bit. Okay. And that's time for that. Andrew, I said you did your piece, right? Okay, yeah, okay. I didn't forget you again.
Wait, what's supposed to happen?
All right. Calm down there, Harry Potter. We're going to do out of 10. We're going to score this movie from 0 to 10. Sam goes first. Actually, I think Andrew's actually supposed to go first. Yeah, Andrew goes first. Sorry.
Yeah, well, like I said, my first time watching it, I wasn't blown away by it. And as fantastical as the movie is, it wasn't all that fantastical to me. So, having said that, though, it had some good qualities, and it, you know my rule: if the movie keeps my attention, it's a decent movie. And I only looked at my phone like twice. So, is it something I will want to watch again? Maybe in the future. I don't know. Maybe once or twice more. It's not something I'm gonna put on repeat, but I'm gonna give it maybe a 6.5 out of 10.
So Cameron, I broke Jesse when I was on Sudden But Inevitable because they do a score, and everyone does these even numbers, right? 7, 8, whatever. And I got on there and I said 9.6 because I'm so used to having to use decimal points for the podcast. Because if we did after about episode 45, we realized, we're going to need to differentiate between a 7 and an 8, or even a 7.5 and a, So feel free to use the decimal point.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say it's I'm not one of those people who just throws 9s and 10s at everything, but I of course lobbied to get on this episode because I do love Willow, and maybe a big part of it is nostalgia. I think it holds up, but when I watch this movie, it makes me feel like a 9.1.
All right. Yeah, literally, this movie happened because you posted something, you tagged me in it, and I responded with, "You are great," with Willow saying it and Madmartigan falling in the snow, and your response was,
one of my favorite gifts. Yeah.
That's my favorite gift. If I'm ever able to do your show, we must do that movie. And I said, done. That's pretty much the negotiation.
Yep.
Much appreciated.
Sam.
Yeah, I gotta agree. This was such a this was such a great return to my childhood. I'm almost sick that I didn't see it recently. I've got to give it a good 8.1 out of 10. I'm going to have my kids watch this. I watched it by myself just to make sure. Because, I didn't remember how bad or how PG-13-ish the PG movie of the 80s was, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 8.1 on my scale.
Cool. There was one last note that I realized that I forgot that it was just a funny thing is, when Willow is fighting the desk that turns alive and he shoves it out the window, I think it would have been probably too funny and too campy, but it would have been great if Madmartigan is down there fighting General Kale, and just as Kale is about to kill Madmartigan, the thing falls and kills Kale. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would have been too campy, but I think it would have been kind of hilarious at the same time. Anyway, with that being said, this is one of those movies, Sam. You had one of these movies a while ago. I don't remember which one it was, but you basically said, I don't care what you guys say on the podcast. I love this movie, and therefore it's going to get a high score. I don't remember what that was, but this is that for me. I love this movie. I can't wait for my kids to get a little older so I can watch this with them. My son's 8. I'll probably wait till maybe next year to watch it with him. But yeah, I'm going to give this an 8.9. Well, 8.8 because it came out in 88. So there you go. 8.8.
There you go.
I love it. It's just a good movie. And so there you go. Average score of 8.125. I think that it's actually pretty appropriate.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good,
So, my gosh. This has been so much fun, Cameron. Please tell our listeners how they can find your show and information about you. I will, of course, link it in the show notes, but this is your time to shine.
Sure, yeah. So I am a self-described geek watching The Next Generation for the very first time with my friends who have seen it and holding my hand through it. You can catch us. It's called Green Shirt, a Newbie's Trek to the Next Generation. At GreenShirt87 will find us on Twitter. At Green Shirt Podcast is our Instagram, and Facebook.com/Green Shirt Podcast will find us on Facebook. One of these days we'll maybe get all those to have the same name, but for now that's where you'll find us. We don't have quite as many episodes as these guys, but we've got a few. We're almost to 100, so we're excited for that. Mm-hmm. Feel free to jump in where we are now or start at the beginning. It's a little rough, but we get better, like most podcasts.
Yeah, if you go back and listen to our first basically 50 episodes, we're kind of terrible at it.
If you go and listen to last week's, we're kind of
we're still kind of terrible at it. So
I should also pimp. I worked on a all puppet horror film called Frank and Zed about a Frankenstein monster and a zombie who have a symbiotic relationship. It's kind of rocked it at some festivals, but it's still looking for distribution. So if you want to check out the trailer and maybe just kind of help spread the hype, you can find it at puppetcore.com.
Sweet.
Yeah, do that.
Awesome.
And to sign off, I just want to say, honestly, the nursemaid is kind of the hero of this movie, right?
Yeah.
That poor nursemaid.
Yeah,
she deserves more.
Yeah. Again, the one last thing we didn't mention: 1, the nursemaid; 2, the Bad Morda, whatever her name is. She keeps screaming, "I want the baby alive!" Yet we send these dogs that only kill everything.
Maybe they were told not to kill the baby.
Like, I don't understand. Like, they attacked the hell out of that poor baby crib that's there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there would have been a baby in there, it would have died. So
you're not wrong.
Those dog things were kind of terrible at their job. Anyway, you had one job dog, and you didn't do it. Anyway, that's our show. Next week, we're excited to announce that we will be doing Molly's Game, the Aaron Sorkin movie Molly's Game, with Ricky D., who was the host of Best Flicks with Ricky D. And that's next week. I'm very excited for that. We got a bunch of guests coming up. Really excited. Karen, this was such a blast, and I have a strong feeling that you're going to be back on our show long before I get a chance to go on yours.
Oh, man. Yeah, Sean, you will be coming sometime, I promise. But we're not weekly, so it takes a while to make it through a season.
And I also picked like the second or third last episode of the season 5. So, yeah, it might be March of 2022, but whatever. That's fine.
We look forward to having you then.
Yeah.
The anticipation will build.
Yeah, nothing but anticipation. But like legit, we'll have you on again soon. This has been a lot of fun, and
I had a great time, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, we really just enjoy having smart people on the show, and that's
absolutely
once again proven true tonight. Our particulars are: if you're listening to this show because of Cameron, then please go to Facebook.com/Cheapseat Reviews, at CheapseatCast is our Twitter. If you want to go back and listen to any of the other episodes, basically before 200 and what are we at? We're at 340 something now. So basically, because IMDb or iTunes only backlogs 100 episodes. So if you want to go back and listen to any of those earlier ones to really hear how bad we were, you got to go to cheapseatreviews.libsyn.com. That's got all of our episodes. Go back and listen to some of the old ones. We've had some fun ones. Star Crash was a lot of fun. And episode 100, where we did something, which is Andrew's first episode as a regular on the show. And I teased it almost 2 hours ago when we started this podcast, and I forgot to say so. James Horner is our Star Trek connection.
Oh, yes, okay, of course.
Yeah, he did Star Trek he started Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Warwick Dunn wasn't in any Star Trek movies?
Warwick Davis? No. Warwick Dunn, the football player, wasn't either.
Okay.
No, he wasn't. I looked for him, Val Kilmer. I looked for a lot of the actors.
Billy Barty, I thought for sure.
You would have thought. I mean, if he did the Masters of the Universe, he could have found time for this. But no, he was in UHF, so that's kind of cool too. But no, he wasn't in Star Trek. Anyway, that's our show. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this show, please share it with other people. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's the best way you can do that. We've had recently some people leave a review. Cameron, I read your review last week. That was very nice of you to do that. I said you didn't have to do that to get on the show, but I do appreciate you doing it anyway. So be like Cameron.
How valuable they are.
Yeah, well, be like Cameron and leave us a review, and then I'll probably just invite you on the show, because why not? All that being said, this is Sean saying thank you so much for listening, and on behalf of Cameron, Andrew, and Sam, this is Sean saying thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
This is Cheapseat Reviews.